Hello, today's In the Hoop project is this little bit of Easter fun. A couple of chocolate rabbits talking to each other. The design can be done as a 5-inch square, which I'm showing here, or a 5x7 oval, which is what I'll be making today. So you of course want to start by printing out your thread guide and your instructions. The thread guide is going to tell you what's going on in each run and give you some instructions for where you need to take some action, and that will help you select the correct thread for each run. The instructions will let you know which file name you need to be looking for. It'll also give you your materials, some tips, and then detailed stitching instructions. So for our materials, I've got two 6x8 pieces of fabric, one for the top and one for the back. I've ironed those already. You can use the same fabric or different fabric. I've got a piece of 6x8-inch batting. My mom saves me the edges from her quilts when she trims them. That works great. I've also even upcycled an old sweatshirt for the batting. I'll be using some 505 temporary adhesive to secure each layer of material in the hoop. Now, I do not like to spray this near my machine, so I'll be spraying it off camera, but I will be using it. I also like these little scissors with a curved blade for trimming. They let you get in nice and close. And I do recommend, if you have some matching bobbin thread to coordinate with the back of your fabric, it'll make the design look a little cleaner on the back side. You'll also need wash-away stabilizer, the fabric kind, not the plastic kind. I've already put a piece of that in my 5x7 hoop. And the other little thing I like to do is I put a piece of tape on the one side of my hoop. That helps me keep track of which way it goes when I take it in and out of the machine. So let's come on over to our machine and get started. I've already loaded the thread in my machine, and I've got white bobbin thread for the start of it. And the other thing I recommend if you have a multi-needle is you want to go into the edit mode and make sure that you've added stops and change the colors to be the colors that you want for your design. With a single needle, it's going to stop after each run for you to change colors, so it's not an issue. So let's go ahead and get started. The first run is going to simply be a placement line to show me where to place my fabric. Alright, the oval line has been stitched, the placement line for our fabric. So I'm just going to set this down. And I used a little bit of 505 to secure my top fabric to the batting, and then I put some more on the back of the batting. And I'm just going to place that over those stitched lines. Now you can do a couple of things. You can lift up the fabric and check that you've got it placed well, from side to side. The other thing you can do is if you turn it over, you should be able to see that stitched line, and you can see that there's plenty of fabric around the edges. So I'm going to put this back in the machine, and it's going to stitch this in place, and then it's going to stitch the rabbits and the rest of the details, and we'll stop again when we get ready to add the back. Our design has finished stitching, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the machine, and now is when I want to trim that top fabric. And then we'll turn it over and we will put our back fabric on. So the pink line is the line that was just stitched. I'm going to stitch just outside of that. Pull up on your edge, actually loosen a little bit first, make sure all the 505 is loose, and then just simply pull up on that edge, and that raises the fabric a little bit so that it's easier to get close. Oops, try not to cut the thread. And just trim along that edge there, turn it as you go. Like I said, pulling up on the fabric will let you get a little closer. And just trim nice and close. And these little curved scissors kind of get you a nice angle so you can get down in there and nice and close. Oops, again, you really don't want to cut that line, but it's okay if you do. It's got other lines holding it in place. So I'm just going to finish trimming this here. And then the next thing we're going to do is we turn the hoop over. And actually two things. One is if you've got any tails that need to be trimmed, now's the time to trim them. If you've got light colored fabric, these dark tails can show through. So go ahead and trim them now. You especially want to trim any that are close to the edge. Those can hang out your edges. So once that's trimmed, we're going to take our back fabric and we're going to put that with the good side out facing us over top of that. And I'm just going to lift up the edges and make sure that I'm reasonably well centered. So that looks okay. Now I'm going to turn this over and I just want to press a little bit so that it's going to stick in place. Now we're going to put this back in our machine here. And when you slide it back in, be careful that the fabric doesn't catch. You want to make sure that it stays smooth and in place. So it looks like we're good there. We can go ahead and do the next run, which will secure this, and then we'll stop it again to trim that back fabric. Our back fabric has been stitched in place, so we can take it back over here to our work surface. And now we want to trim around those edges, and just going to lift up a little bit. 505s, keep that from sticking there. And again, we're just going to trim around that edge. And just turn it as you trim. Keep close to those lines. And if you pull up a little bit on the fabric, it helps to raise it and lets you trim just a little bit closer. Okay, now we're going to put this back in the machine. I'm going to change my bobbin thread at this point. This is a light enough fabric I could probably get away with leaving the white in there, but the purple will match a little nicer. So we'll put this back in, and we will take out our white bobbin thread, and we're going to put in this light purple to match the fabric. Trim that tail off. Okay, so now it's going to go ahead and stitch that little bit of a decorative border and then the satin stitch around the edge. And I'll see you back here when it's done. Our design has finished stitching. Thank you, sweetheart. So I'm going to go ahead and take my hoop out of the machine, and at this point I can go ahead and unhoop my design. And I'm just threads on the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut away a little bit of this excess stabilizer. I like to leave about 1 inch border. It makes it easier to pull off. So I cut away a little bit of it. And now I'm going to bring it into the other room. And I've already filled my sink with some cold water. And what I'm going to do is just simply dip these edges just right up to where the satin stitch is. I don't want to get the satin stitch wetting, but I want to get all of the wash away wet. And I'm just going to roll it around so that I get all of those edges. And then I'm just going to come back and they should pull off nice and easy. And I've got a little paper cup here that I like to put the scrap stabilizer in so it doesn't go down my drain. And then just take and wet your finger along the edges, get rid of any little fuzzies left from the stabilizer. Now we can take this back into the other room and we'll give it a quick pressing and it'll be ready to go. So I'm just going to give this a little pressing. Turn it over, we'll get the back as well. And our design is ready for Easter. So again, this is the 5x7 oval. There's also a 5x7 square available for this design. I hope you've enjoyed today's In the Hoop project. If so, please like and subscribe to this channel for more In the Hoop stitching with LLH Embroidery. Happy stitching!